The truth about the 4% rule in 2025. Still safe or outdated? The 4% rule has been one of the most widely used retirement strategies for a decade. The idea is simple. Withdraw 4% of your savings in your first year of retirement, adjust for inflation, and your money should last 30 years. Sounds straightforward, right? But here's what most people don't realize. That rule was built on market data from the early 20th century, back when interest rates were higher, when people didn't live as long, and when retirement planning didn't have to factor in complex tax decisions, healthcare costs, or today's market volatility. Fast forward to 2025, and everything has changed. We're in a different economy. We're seeing longer retirements, and if you're still relying on the 4% rule like it's a universal truth, you could be setting yourself up for a shortfall. So is the 4% rule still safe, or is it outdated and even dangerous for today's retirees? Hi, I'm Josh Bliss, founder of Gateway Capital Management, now proudly under Balboa Wealth Partner. In today's video, we're breaking down the truth about the 4% rule in 2025, where it came from, where it falls short, and what strategies you can use instead to retire with more flexibility and peace of mind. And if you find this helpful, take a second to like the video, leave a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe for more practical retirement guidance. Let's walk through it. What is the 4% rule, and where did it come from? Let's take a moment to really understand what the 4% rule is and why it became such a cornerstone of retirement planning. The concept comes from research done by a financial planner named William Bengen back in 1994. He was trying to solve a common and critical question that nearly every retiree asks. How much can I safely withdraw from my portfolio each year so I don't run out of money? To find an answer, Bengen ran simulations using US market data going all the way back to the 1920s. He looked at how different withdrawal strategies would have performed through a variety of 30-year retirement periods, including some very difficult ones like the Great Depression and the stagflation of the 1970s. What he found was this. If a retiree started with a 60-40 portfolio, 60% stocks and 40% bonds, they could withdraw 4% of their savings in year one, adjust that dollar amount annually for inflation, and in nearly every historical scenario, they wouldn't run out of money over a 30-year retirement. That's how the 4% rule was born. Here's a basic example. Let's say you retire with $1 million. Under the 4% rule, you withdraw $40,000 in the first year. In the second year, you'd take that $40,000 and increase it to keep up with inflation. So maybe it becomes $41,200. You'd keep adjusting the same way each year, regardless of market condition. It gave retirees a simple, repeatable strategy. And back then, it made a lot of sense, especially in the era with strong bond yields, more stable inflation, and shorter average lifespans. But here's the important part most people miss. Bengen's research assumed a very specific set of conditions. First, a 30-year retirement window, not longer. A 60-40 investment mix with no major changes over time. No taxes, no account fees, no unexpected expenses, and no sequence of returns risk, meaning it didn't adjust based on when bad markets occurred. It also didn't account for real-world complexity, like needing to spend more in the early years of retirement, or having multiple types of accounts with different tax rules. So while the 4% rule was a great starting point, it was never meant to be a personalized plan. Think of it like a general map. It gives you a direction, but doesn't account for traffic, detours, or how far your gas tank will get you. And that's where many people run into trouble. Because in today's world, with longer retirements, more market volatility, and rising costs, the question isn't just what can I withdraw, it's how should I adapt? We'll break that down next, starting with why the 4% rule might be too rigid for today's retirees. So why the 4% rule may be outdated in 2025. So we've covered where the 4% rule came from, but let's talk about why it may not hold up anymore. Because if you're planning to retire in 2025 or beyond, the environment you're walking into is completely different from the one retirees faced back in the 1990s when this rule was first introduced. Let's walk through 4 major reasons the 4% rule may be too outdated and possibly even dangerous for today's retirees. Number 1, bond yields are still relatively low. One of the key assumptions behind the 4% rule is that the bond portion of your portfolio is earning a decent return. In the 90s, bonds were paying 6, 7%, sometimes even more. That income helped support consistent withdrawals, even in years when the stock market underperformed. Fast forward to today, and even with recent rate hikes, yields on high-quality bonds are still lower than historic averages. You might be earning 3% or 4% on government or investment-grade bonds, if that. This creates a problem. If the safe portion of your portfolio is underperforming, you're forced to either 1, withdraw from your equities, potentially at a loss, or 2, draw down principal more quickly. Either way, the safety net that used to exist just isn't as reliable as it once was. 2. Inflation is more volatile than it used to be. Another key assumption behind the 4% rule is predictable, modest inflation around 2% per year. But take a look at the last few years. We've had inflation running over 6% in some months, with everything from groceries to housing to healthcare costs rising rapidly. Even though inflation may have cooled somewhat, it's become far less predictable. And that unpredictability makes it dangerous to assume you can just add 2% per year to your withdrawals and expect your purchasing power to stay intact. For example, let's say your retirement income was built on withdrawing $60,000 per year. But what happens when your expenses jump to $68,000 due to inflation, healthcare premiums, or simply higher living costs? Sticking rigidly to the 4% rule in that environment is cutting back your lifestyle or risking a portfolio shortfall later on. Number 3, retirements are lasting longer than ever. When Bengen ran his analysis, he based it on a 30-year retirement timeline. Back then, if you retired at 65, planning to live until 95 felt very conservative. But today, that's becoming the norm. A healthy 60-year-old couple today has a very real chance that one spouse lives well into their 90s. That means your retirement might not last 30 years, it could last 35 or even 40 years. And the 4% rule doesn't stretch well beyond that 30-year mark. It wasn't designed to support withdrawals for 4 decades or account for higher costs later in life due to long-term care, home support, or medical expenses. So if you live longer and spend more later, you need a strategy that's built to last. Number 4, sequence of returns risk can break the 4% rule. This is probably the most overlooked danger, and it's something the 4% rule doesn't address at all. Sequence of returns risk means that the order of your investment returns matters. It's not just about the average return over time, it's about when the gains and losses occur. Here's a quick example. Imagine 2 retirees, both with $1 million portfolios. They both earn the same average return over 30 years, but one retires into a strong bull market and the other into a recession. The retiree who sees early losses while also withdrawing income is hit with a double impact. Their portfolio drops due to market losses and the withdrawn income at the same time, locking in those losses and reducing future growth. That retiree could run out of money much faster, even if the market eventually recovers. That's why a static 4% withdrawal, no matter what the markets are doing, can lead to serious trouble if you hit a rough patch early in retirement. In summary, the 4% rule assumes a steady, predictable world, but we're living in a time of volatility, longer lifespans, lower yields, and higher uncertainty. That doesn't mean you need to panic, but does mean you need to rethink your approach. So let's look at what actually works better for retirees today. We'll explore smarter, more flexible strategies next. Smarter withdrawal strategies in 2025. If the 4% rule isn't as dependable as it once was, what should you do instead? Here are several strategies I use with clients to build more resilient, flexible retirement income plans, especially in today's environment. Number 1, dynamic spending models. Instead of taking out a fixed percentage, a fixed dollar amount every year, we adjust withdrawals based on what's happening in the market and in your life. If your portfolio grows strongly one year, you might take a little more. If the market dips, you might pause, cost of living increases, or reduce spending slightly to give your investments time to recover. This approach helps protect against selling in down markets and can significantly extend the life of your portfolio. Number 2, guardrail strategy. This is a rule-based system that sets guardrails for your withdrawal rate. If your portfolio value rises enough, your income goes up. If it falls below a certain threshold, you make a small adjustment down, but you're never completely flying blind. We have a built-in system that helps you stay on track. Think of it like cruise control with bumpers. It gives you freedom, but with discipline. Number 3, income bucketing. This strategy breaks your retirement assets into time-based buckets. Bucket 1 is for the next 1 to 3 years of income. It's held in cash or short-term investments. Bucket 2 covers the next 3 to 10 years and holds more conservative assets. Bucket 3 is a long-term growth, stocks or other assets designed to beat inflation over time. This gives you the peace of mind knowing your short-term income needs aren't tied to stock market performance. You're not forced to sell when markets are down because your near-term cash flow is already covered. Number 4, tax-smart withdrawals. Most retirees don't just have one account. They have a mix of traditional IRAs, Roth IRAs, brokerage accounts, and maybe even deferred compensation or annuities. The order in which you draw from these accounts can have a huge impact on your tax bill and how long your money lasts. For example, pulling from taxable accounts first may keep you in a lower tax bracket longer. Roth conversions in early retirement years may reduce future RMDs and lower taxes on Social Security. Qualified charitable charitable distributions, known also as QCDs, from your IRA can satisfy your RMD while reducing taxable income. This is where working with a financial professional can make a big difference, because two people with the same portfolio balance can have very different outcomes based solely on how and when they withdraw money. In short, you don't need to throw out 4% rule completely, but in 2025, retirement income planning needs to go deeper. Markets move, inflation shifts, tax rules change. Your plan needs to be built for those realities, not just the averages. Let's bring it all together. So is the 4% rule still useful? Sure, it's a helpful starting point, but it was never meant to be a universal rule for every retiree in every market at every time. Today, we're facing longer lifespans, lower bond yields, more tax complexity, and more market uncertainty than ever before. And that means your withdrawal strategy needs to be flexible, tax-aware, and tailored to your specific goals. This is where a thoughtful retirement income plan can make a real difference, because the goal isn't just to not run out of money. The goal is to use your money confidently, wisely, in a way that supports the lifestyle you've worked so hard to build. And you don't have to figure that out alone. If you're approaching retirement and want to make sure your plan is working for you, not against you, let's talk. Click the link in the description below to book a free consultation, and I'll walk you through your options based on your portfolio, your goals, and the reality of retirement in 2025. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.